students slash teachers of Reddit. What's the best forgot to turn off the mic story during virtual learning? I had to defend my thesis over Zoom, and many professors came into the call to watch. My thesis was about immune response in fish to parasites. One professor joined late and forgot to mute her mic, and we got treated to this little gem. SHHHH. Mommy is learning about fish parasites, which is what you'll get if you don't stop peeing in the koi pond. Apostrophe. A girl's mom, who the duck you on the computer at this early in the morning, and asking the same thing over and over. Teacher, I think your mic is on. When I was doing an online algebra camp, the teacher forgot to turn off his mic while we were supposed to be doing some problems. He said I ducking hate math. Apostrophe. As a math major I can confirm that the better you are at math the more you hate it. As someone extremely shitty at math, I can confirm that it goes both ways. I teach for an online university that requires me to conduct a weekly live session. One morning I was lecturing and a student popped in late. I said, "Hello. Student name. Thanks for joining us," she said. "Don't say my name, bitch." Just before she realized her mic was on and turned it off, I just laughed. All future interactions with her need to be prefaced with, "Yes, she who must not be named." Apostrophe. Not really anything super weird. Was in a meeting with my class for the first day of school, and I had forgotten to mute myself. I then proceeded to start noisily baby talking my cat, who was in my lap at the time. Embarrassing. English Zoom call. Teacher was holding us like 15+ minutes after the period had ended. She said something along the lines of keep working arduously, and I responded with, if she says arduously one more time I'm going to flip a table. I was not on mute. Girl forgot to turn off her mic and started screaming at her parents in Chinese. I wish I understood what she said. After few minutes, she gasped loudly when she finds out she didn't mute it. Good thing not many people understood. It was Chinese class. Op is just failing. In one of my classes, this girl wrote in the Zoom chat, "This is so ducking boring," not realizing that the professor could see it. How stupid do you have to be to do that? I mean, it literally says, "To everyone." One time in an art class, separate from my school, my dad knocked on my door. It was dead silent at that point. Everyone was working on their projects. I clicked the mute button and yelled, "What?" Turns out my mic was already muted, and I turned it on. I startled the entire class and the teacher asked if I was okay. My son was in a class, and I thought his mic was muted. I had cut myself, and walked over to gross him out and said, "Son, there's so much blood." And he responded, "You're gonna get blood on me." His class went silent and the teacher asked if he was okay. Oops, we laughed about it later. So I have one. I just did 8 hours of calls for 7 weeks training for a new project. On the second week, a man unmutes his call. Farts the longest fart I've ever heard in my life. Then when he finishes, mutes the call. I can see others laughing while muted at his fatal error of thinking he wasn't muted, and so he went to mute his call. I found this to be the highlight of the week. But the following week the guy does it again. Honestly, the second time I laughed, but then started to wonder if it was some kind of power move. In a math class I was in last year, we were taking a test, which you have to turn your mic on for the way of trying to prevent cheating. Some girl apparently forgot that hers was on, and started belting out "Stand By You" by Rachel Platten at the top of her lungs. It went on for the entire song, and she was still humming it when I finished the test and left the call. Dude, my one teacher forgot to turn off his camera and his son was changing in the background and the son kept on looking at the camera. I remember a similar question where a mom answered that she was taking a Zoom call in the garden, until a coworker mentioned that there was a naked kid skateboarding behind her. During my English class, this one girl forgot to mute herself while my teacher was talking. She almost deafened all of us on the Zoom call answering her mother's questions. Her mother, from a distance, "What class are you in?" Yelling, English. Her mother, "Oh, The hot teacher. Yeah, that guy now. Even I'll admit my teacher is fairly attractive. But it does take it to another level when you get your own mother involved. Thankfully, our teacher is a chill guy and thought the whole thing was just kind of funny and kind of just gave a general reminder to the class to keep Mix muted. She didn't say anything for the rest of the class. Hell, it probably made his week. Ironically, my ed teacher forgot to turn off his mic and camera and proceeded to get in a very heated argument on the phone with his ex-girlfriend who he has a kid with. Did I mention that she's also a teacher at our school? Yeah, most awkward 5 minutes of my life before he realized. Probably also the most awkward 5 minutes of his life. I was producing a video for some university professors on a specific medical thing for a virtual learning course. I was all set up to shoot the process, and the teachers excused themselves to the next office to regroup and have a chat. I already had their wireless lav mix attached and fed to my camera. So when I sat down at the camera and put on my headphones, I immediately heard their conversation. They were criticizing me, saying they couldn't believe they hired someone so young, inexperienced in that particular medical field, how I looked, how I asked questions, etc. Oops, at least I made them a fine video. These days I don't put my headphones on until we're about to shoot. My teacher got scolded by his wife, another teacher in school, because she needed to work and he didn't repair her computer. He was a computer technology teacher and he just keeps saying, "Sorry honey, I forgot. I won't do it again. I promise it will take 2 seconds to fix it." In loop because the wife went on a little rant of how he always forgot things. When he saw the mic was still on, he blushed and after a moment of silence just went on with the lesson. Edit. Thanks for the award. A student in my class forgot to turn off their mic and we heard some background noises, doors closing, tapping. And because of a display bug, we couldn't see where the noise was from. Then the student started saying crap about the teacher. "Oh, yeah, this is useless. He's just writing on a tablet. Even I could do that," etc. Everyone heard that. The teacher heard them just insult him. They didn't come back to the classes after that. In a thermodynamics class, one of the students said, "Holy shit, this is so much," after covering a large set of equations related to fugacity. Everyone found it relatable. One of my professor's classes had a student say something like, "I just joined 5 minutes before class and this asshole is already teaching." The professor just laughed and told him his mic was on. Last week, kid in my brother's class forgot his camera was on during the first class and was smoking a giant gas mask bong on his face during the syllabus review. Was in training before classes started this year. 200-ish teachers. Only principal and app were speaking. Teacher has her mic unmuted. Phone rings. Picks it up and says, "Hey, yeah. Just sitting here in another one of these goddamn trainings." Apostrophe. Heard the clapping sound of a kid jerking off. His name lit up and everything. GR3 kid stopped in the middle of the class meeting and took his laptop to the bathroom with him. He sat on the toilet for the rest of the meeting. I had a student's boyfriend, both college, walk up behind her on Zoom, reach into her shirt, pull out her breasts, and start doing a little boob dance. She was just laughing and playfully slapping his hands away. This was probably 30 seconds after I had just gone through my whole speech of making sure there was nothing in your browser history, Google search history, or names of folders that could be embarrassing or offensive. Some guy's mother started yelling at him, "Turn down the freaking sound. I'm so sick of listening to your classes the whole day. Go to the balcony and continue from there or just bloody drop out of uni," along with a set of few swear words. Our professor muted him, so I don't really know what happened next. Somebody in my class forgot to turn off the mic and started singing along to a song and loudly. Somebody told her and there was this odd whop noise and then she cut off. A boy accidentally forgot to turn his mic off and we heard how his mom literally verbally abused him. Then he looked at the camera and realized that the mic was on, then he turned the camera and mic off. The next day he looked like he cried all day and his mom was behind the camera. I still feel bad for that kid. Edit. To the random redditor who gave me the silver award, I swear the situation will not be kept in secret. I will do as much as I can to help the situation. Cheers. Not virtual, but I was a guest speaker at a music college last year. My mic was still on when I finished. Went backstage and said, well, that was ducking horrible. I wasn't called back to speak again. Edit. For those curious of the aftermath, I heard it out of the speakers and an immediate uproar of laughter ensued. I would have laughed had I been a student, but as a working professional it was one of the single most awkward experiences of my life. I'm not a student, but work in the tech industry. I've been in meetings where people forget to mute themselves on large company calls with hundreds or thousands of attendees and will hear a fart and then a toilet flush. That's about as interesting as these meetings get though. My son calls his tablet his fix because when I first got it and the battery would die, I'd tell him I was going to fix it. So imagine his pre-K teacher surprise last spring when he asked me if he could have his fix now that he was done with school. Lol, I cracked up, held up the fix in question, and explained what he meant. So we were making our classes as phone call on an app called TeamSpeak, I think. Anyways, I was using my phone to talk and my computer to work and sometimes check Discord. At a point, we were supposed to do some exercise on our own and I left my mic on. My friend sent me a message talking about the fact that he got a girlfriend. So I sent him, you did it, you crazy son of a bitch. Then I wanted to add some emoji. So I tried to edit the message and I hit the text to speech button instead. The computer literally yelled, you crazy son of a bitch. During a virtual gym class for my high school, a girl forgot to mute herself during a workout and yelled some obscene things very loudly. Not really a mixed story, but a friend of mine Facebook stalked a cute guy in their toot before realizing she was still screen sharing. I was visiting my best friend during a lecture and she had her mic and video turned off. She then had to join a group discussion and sometimes unmuted herself to contribute something. After that the whole class was supposed to present their results and she supposedly muted herself again. I started venting to her how wasps are considered wild bees, even though they have no business being bees, because they're assholes, and suddenly we hear laughter from her professor and her classmates. She forgot to mute herself. This was a conference call for work, but it was a big call with like 12 people and newish. So I was really just listening as the senior analysts were discussing something. Call was going on for a while, so I took my laptop into the bathroom with me to take a shit, flushed the toilet, and everyone just stopped talking. Turns out I didn't mute my mic and everyone just heard a toilet flushing in the middle of a meeting. Luckily no one cared, and they all laughed about it, but I was mortified. Not a Zoom, but when I was a flight attendant, we used handheld mics to give briefings and make announcements. One female passenger got in my friend's face and screamed at her that if her bags were lost or if her golf bag was damaged she would make sure to hold her personally responsible. My friend was pretty shaken not only by the loudness and anger, but by the woman's spittle, and tried to hold it together to give her departure briefing. Welcome aboard FLTXXX. Service to Orlando. You ducking bitch. The entire plane lost it. My friend had forgotten to let go of the key on the side of the mic, so all noise was picked up. A student's mother had a habit of standing just off camera and very closely observing her kid. I know this because one time the student forgot to disable the mic. Everyone heard how the mother was coaching the student how to act. Don't look my way. Smile. Pay attention. It was next level helicoptering. Right on the edge of abuse in my opinion. Our school has a good counselor and the student is getting help. All the teachers have been advised to limit contact with the mother and not make waves, lest she withdraw the student or redouble her controlling behavior. I worry about it. Not really turn off the mic, but you know that feature of pressing the spacebar to talk. Well, someone in my class was too used to pressing the spacebar to pause a video and mistakenly pressed it to pause the class to speak to someone in their home, but would instead say nonsense while the teacher was speaking. This happened several times BTW. Not a mic, but an elementary student left their camera for a moment and the mother walked by naked. Guessing she asked him to leave the room so she could change or something, not realizing the camera was left on. Edit. I just got back on Reddit and saw the reaction. Wow, far and away my highest upvoted comment. Would not have guessed that this one would blow up. Reddit is too thirsty. Well, it happened in one of the classes. The teacher was going through a rough time and the class could feel it. We assured her that we had done our homework and that she could take rest for the time being. She agreed and told she would switch her mic off and sleep for a while, as we did whatever. Her husband was right beside her and the mic wasn't turned off. She told, "I'm so lucky to have these students," and started sobbing to her husband. We all heard this, but kept quiet to prevent her being embarrassed. She slept well during that time, and we sent her a thank you gift collectively. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.